boys and girls, to Wallington Filming, your host, the Candleman. As you might have guessed, how to wallpaper a feature wall and do it yourself. In this video, I'm going to show you how to tackle a wall such as this using a good quality paper. Right, I'm going to show you how to do it yourselves. I'm going to tackle this feature wall as if I'm one of you guys who have never ever done it before. So this is not being papered as if I'm a professional painter and decorator. I'm going to tackle it as if I'm one of you guys at home who have never papered a wall before, using the kit that you've probably got. Now then, if you read the label which came with this paper, it says ideally paint the wall in this dark colour, right? So if your joints show, you won't see them so much. But I'm going to show you how not to have any joints showing. And realistically, if you're any good at papering, you shouldn't need to paint the wall in the background colour. Or even down the joints, painting it in black or something like that. If you're any good at it, you shouldn't need to do that. I recently watched somebody paper, and he basically did that, and his papering weren't much good, to be fair, which did surprise me because, you know, he's done it a few times, but obviously not as good as what he thought. I've been doing papering for decades and decades, and I think I can do a reasonable job. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to go about it. So sit back and enjoy, guys. As you've just seen, feature wall. I'm going to show you how to paper it and how to do it yourself. Just basically using the kit that you guys have probably got at hand. I'm not really going down the line of how a professional paper hanger goes down. I'm going to do it how you guys would probably approach it. That means cutting the paper to how you guys will probably do it, not how a professional does it. So first thing I'm going to point out to you is the type of tools you will require to do this task of a feature wall. So let me show you the kit that you're going to need, the basic kit that you're going to need. Right, first of all, I should point out, this is the type of paper I'm going to be putting up on this feature wall. When you go and buy the paper, make sure that every roll that you buy before you go and pay for it has got the same reference number and the same batch number. If you don't, you're going to have different shading on your paper when you look at it from a distance. The next thing is, with most papers, you paste the actual paper on your pasting board. This particular one is paste the wall. So I've got to paste the wall, then put the paper up dry onto the wall and cut it and match it and everything. So this is paste the wall stuff. Bear that in mind, because when it comes to buying your paste, realistically, when you do paste the wall stuff, you want a stronger adhesive. Solvite is okay, but I prefer to use a ready mix paste. Now, if you're going to buy Solvite, get a box. Don't go buy it says, oh, this sachet does 10 rolls and all that, because it doesn't. Yeah, if you buy Solvite, buy it in a box, the yellow box, which has probably got 2 to 3 sachets, and do look around for that, because it is a bit expensive and you can get better deals if you shop around. Right then. The paste I'm using it's a ready mixed paste. Now, even though when you open it up, it looks like that, it does tend to be a little bit too thick. So bear that in mind. Paint and paste are designed to thin down a bit so you get a bit more for your money. So I have had to water that down a little bit because it was literally like tar and very difficult to use. So I have watered it down to the consistency where I think, that was a long word, wasn't it? Consistency. I have watered it down a little bit just so it's a little bit more usable. Right, so you're going to need your paste, bit of a stir stick, a small brush for cutting in, because you're not pasting the paper and getting it onto the edge, are you? So you've got to cut it in as well. You're also going to need some form of roller. Now I should imagine a lot of you guys will have a little 9-inch roller, ideal for using in that. But before you start using it, wet it, spin it out just so it's a bit damp, yeah? So you'll need that. Your paper. You're going to need a bucket, clean bucket with a sponge and some semi-warm water in it for wiping it down. Most of you guys should have a spirit level of some sort, yeah? Now in the professional game they use a plumb bob like this, basically. Find out where you want it, pull a nail in the wall or something like that, drop it down, flick that. But these are not cheap now either, so yeah, most of you guys are not going to have one of these. That's where you put your chalk in, just there, yeah. But you're not going to have that, so I'm not going to use that. Self a tape measure, scissors, although I possibly won't be using scissors very much in this task. You want to get yourself a blade if you've not got one, with disposable blades on it that snap off. This is what I tend to use. Bit of a straight edge if you've got one for cutting your paper. If not, use your spirit level. Some form of screwdriver if you've got to take a rad off and take the brackets off. If you take the brackets off, make sure you put the screws back in the wall and mark on the bracket where the screw was. Obviously some more spare blades, pencils, pencil sharpener. Now on these types of paper, which are decent quality, that was about 18 quid a roll. A lot of people use these. I don't really like using these that much. I prefer to use what's called corking board for making sure there's no air bubbles under the paper. Different sizes, that's just one of these big ones cut in half. Probably won't be needing that. To a brush, I just find them, you get a better result. Now these are only about 4 quid, so you're probably better off with that. If you haven't got one, buy one of them, because these, I don't know how much these are now, 10, 15, 20 quid, whatever they are. And a pair of steps, if you're getting up to the top of the ceiling line. This is quite a high room. It's an old terraced house, so there are higher ceilings. So that's roughly the kit you want to do it. And most of you do-it-yourself guys should have some form of kit like that. And most of this is pretty cheap to buy if you haven't. Right, let's crack on with the next phase. One thing I'm going to need to point out to you is, needless to say, I'm going to paper this whole wall. So that's top section and below the dado rail. Some of you guys might have a freshly plastered wall. So, as with this paper, you've got to paste the wall first before you start hanging it, yeah? Now what's going to happen then? You're going to paste that wall and that plasterwork is going to suck that paste in. So by the time you come to put your paper up, most of that adhesive is going to be absorbed into the wall. So you don't want that. So before you even start thinking about papering this wall, papering a wall, right, get your paste, right, and either roll it on or brush it on, and basically what it's called is size the wall, which means you're sealing the wall ready for the next lot of paste, okay? Some of you might have put lining paper on the wall. This is lining paper, yeah? Now, admittedly, this one goes from top to bottom. Realistically, when you're papering a wall, especially if you've had like, you've stripped all the old paper off and you've sanded it down and all the rest of it, and think, oh, it's a little bit dodgy, let me put some lining paper on. You should do what's called cross lining, yeah? That means put the paper from one end to the other, like that, going across, not up and down. The reason for that is you don't want this paper to be meeting any joints, right? So even if you cross line it, I would still probably recommend putting a thin coat of paste on the lining paper after and letting it dry. So basically that's what I've done. Okay, this has been lined up and down previously, but I have still sized the wall top and bottom with paste, and it's bone dry now. Now, with many professional decorators who do paper hanging, they will say, get your pattern in the middle of the wall and then put your first length up, carry on, carry on. Now, that's how you want to be doing it, and that's how I'm going to be doing it. But first thing you need to check is, it's all right doing that, right? But let's say you get all the way across and you're left with a really small strip there. That's going to start giving you a bit of an headache, isn't it? So you need to check first that you don't end up with a small strip at the end of the wall. If that means you take it slightly off centre, so you get near enough a good few inches overhanging at the end, try that, possibly do that. I mean, some people just go from one end to the other end, like so. But the problem with that is, you're not going to have equal pattern at each end of the wall. Luckily on this wall, right, that's my centre there, that's my next length, that's my next length, and that's my next length. So I am hanging over 2-3 inches, which is ideal. And I'm also missing the joint, so I've got all the paper going over the joint. As you can see, look, there's the centre of my wall. So that's that's the centre of my wall. So my paper is coming here, which is about 2 inches away from the actual joint on the lining paper. So ideal. Right then, this wall here is 143 inches long from door frame to door frame. Half of that, 71.5 inches. So I've measured from here to here, 71.5 inches. The paper is 21 inches wide, so I need to come over 10.5 inches. That's where my line is there. So I've now got to strike a line, a straight line, from top to bottom, just there. Spirit level, and as most of you guys should know, when the bubble goes in the middle of the two lines, it's straight. So this one's got one there for doing that way, and it's also got one for doing like that, which is a bonus because that means I can get a straight line going vertical. So I've got my mark there, which is half of the paper. Right, so all I'm going to do Just rest it on that dado rail at the bottom. Get it dead centre, like so. That bubbles directly in the two lines. Yeah. Get me pencil and draw a nice straight line. And I'm going to bring my spirit level up, follow on the line. Does help if the wall's straight, which it's not. Get my bubble in there. That gives me my line at the top. So now I need to get a straight line from there down the bottom so I can follow that paper on. Now if I was using one of these chalk lines, that wouldn't be so bad, would it? Because I could just strike a line. But in this case, I can't do that. Let's continue using my spirit level, which most of you guys should have. Right, rest it on that skirting board. Line it up with my eye on that line there. Get it straight in the middle of the bubble. Like so. Yeah. Use my pencil and my eye to get a straight line. Like so. That's how I'm going to do it. And as you can see, that's lining up with that lovely. Yeah. This wall has actually got that insulating paper on here. That's why you can see that joint there. Don't matter how many times I fill that little joint, it absorbs it. So anyway, so there's my straight line at the top and there's my straight line at the bottom. What I'm going to do, I'm not pasting the whole wall, because when you start getting to 2 or 3 lengths down, say down that way, it'll be drying, and this room's quite warm. So I'm just going to paste the section that I'm going to paper first. Like I say, it's paste the wall, so I've got to make sure I get all the edges right, because I'm not pasting the paper, am I? So that's where my first length's going to. So I'm going to put a generous amount of paste on the brush. Just go past my line a bit, won't hurt. And the paste shouldn't dry so quick, because it's already been sized. Yeah, so yeah, there's enough for that. Paste at the bottom. Doesn't matter if it hit the woodwork a little bit, because I'm going to wipe it off with my clean water and my sponge. But yeah, bit difficult with this bucket. Ideally you want another bucket, but I've not got one, because I'm doing it the way that you will. That's some paste on there. Put plenty on. Don't be scared to put plenty on. Just don't leave it dead overkill or thick. You know what I mean? pasted the section where the first length of paper is going to go. Yeah, here's me paper. Yeah, generally when you first start papering, that's where you want your design, right? So you see how you got that big floral thing there, and you got a bit of a bit there. Yeah. So if you put the paper on now and go down there, it's all going to be stuck to the wall, isn't it? So what we really need to do is go by that top section there, right, measure down to that dado rail and cut it on the pasting board and then put it on the wall. So we'll do that tape measure, yeah, just go past the paste. We're looking at, from the top of that coving to the top of that dado rail is 59, 60. So we want to go 61 inches. We need to cut the paper at 61 inches. Pasting table, right, put your tape measure there, go down 61 inches, mark on a bit of a masking tape like so. So get down there, on your masking tape on there, that's my 61, so that's where I've got to cut it. Now bear in mind, with the paper, I want, you see that little bit of a design there, I'm going to get rid of that. I want the top of the paper hitting that coving somewhere in that grey line there. So I'm going to go somewhere about there. Yeah. Right, somewhere around there. Bring my paper down. Pass the masking tape which is there. The paper there. Got my straight edge or my spirit level. There's my mark there, 61 inches. Put that level on the edge of the board. Make sure it looks level, which it does. Disposable blade. Cut down there. Put blade there, that there. Tape measure and everything. Right, so my paper's ready now. I've got my paper, I've got my corking board. As you will note, I've got no bib and brace on. Normally I would have a bib and brace on, but you guys are probably not going to have one. So I'm going to do it without a bib and brace. There's my top of my paper. There's my line. So get it on the line. Just want to get rid of that little bit of a pattern there. So that goes there. Just get it on the line, make sure it's level. Do not try and force the paper, otherwise when you put the next section on, you're going to struggle to get the joints correct. Don't force it. Just get a little bit of a push, not a lot. Not a lot, just a little. Corking board. Just go up and down like that. Just put a reasonable amount of pressure on it, not too much. Make sure you've on them edges. Top there. As you will note, see how these edges are worn down. If you buy these brand new, sand them edges off, because it'll cut your paper as you're doing this. Put that there, that'll get you into that little groove up there. Now then, I don't want to cut that yet, just in case I make a mistake. You can actually feel if there's any air bubbles in it. Come off my steps. lovely, doesn't it, eh? Run that down there to push it into the groove, because that's where I'm going to cut. Don't force it in too much where you damage the paper. Yeah? Right, now I need to cut it. When you've got these disposable blades, only do about 2 lengths. Snap it off and use a fresh cut. So, that's on there like that. That's pushed in that groove. I'm not going to do above it, right, because sometimes it might cut it a little bit short and you can see the line too much. So I'm going to cut underneath. So put it there, put your blade on, there, start cutting like so, and as you cut, just run your blade with your corking board and cut. Job's a good one. Look at that, lovely, lovely cut there. Do the top. Sometimes need to wipe that. Make sure you got a good pair of steps. Don't use Granny's old wooden steps, you know what I mean? Right, blades on there. So, now if you don't want to use a blade that, pencil it, use your scissors. And there you go. Simple as that, he says, who's been doing it for decades. Next thing, wipe it over with a sponge. Now you only need a damp sponge. But what you got to remember is where you've cut it, you're going to have some paste there, ain't you? So I don't want paste on this coving. So give it a wipe off, like so. Yeah? By sponging it all over, you will feel if there's any air bubbles. So it's like an extra bonus to wipe it over. Some people just wipe the joints, but me, I like to wipe it all over. Yeah? Get a slight wipe. Like so. Don't be scared to get some clean water as the job goes on. Simple as that. First length. Looks nice, doesn't it? 18 quid a roll. You get a fighter. Yeah. Nice, nice fresh cut there, look. Just take your time, no rush. One length at a time. Make sure you get your bits of paper, put them to one side so you don't trip over them. Right, what I'm going to do now is just do that little bit at the bottom, right? When it comes to the paper, obviously, that got to match up there somewhere, ain't it? So what I want to do now is just follow, what I'm going to do is follow that pattern on, the same as I did at the top, underneath. Because you are losing a bit of the pattern because of that dado rail. Yeah? So you're never going to match it up completely. So, there's my line. Yep. All I'm going to do here is put that about there somewhere, yeah? Just so, the reason you don't want to take it level with something like that, if it runs out, you're going to end up with nothing and then a little bit of pattern starts showing. So you don't really want that. So what you want to be doing is just getting rid of that little bit of a pattern at the top. Yeah? Run your paper down and you're going to want to mark it where it's got to go. So I'm going to mark it about here. Yeah? Or just measure it with a tape measure and cut it on the board. So let me get that cut. So I'm going to get rid of that little bit of a pattern there, and that will come down to there, yeah? So I need to get that bit of wall pasted. So I'll just put that to one side for the minute. Get me paste. Okay, I can hit the woodwork because I'm going to wipe it off. You want to make sure you've got plenty of paste up there, don't you? Same with the skirting board. Like so. Plenty of paste on. There you go. Paper on there. On the line. Yeah, let's get rid of that. There you go. That's on there. Up there like that. Tap it under. Scribe it up there. Make sure it goes up in that gap. Lower it down. Over them edges. Yeah. Like that. Now, when it comes to the skirting board, this is quite an old skirting board here. So on this top lip, right, some of it's thick and some of it runs out to next to nothing. So, ideally, in the real world, you want it with a new skirting board, but I'm just going to push that in. Just take your time on this because it's not exactly that level on there. Hold on. There you go. I'm actually going to change this blade. I feel it's starting to get a little bit blunt. The harder the paper, the quicker it starts blunting the blade. There you go. No air bubbles in that. Wipe your surrounding woodwork. There you go, more than happy with that. Jobs are good. Oh, so there you have it, basically. That's your first length. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is move on to my next length. So I need to follow this paper on now. Now I have got a little bit of a screw there where picture's going to go. And I've got to match this up. Now it's a 53 centimetre mismatch. So as you can see, there's that there. Right, that's got to go at the top there, isn't it? So that's where me hold on, no they ain't. That's where it's going to match there. Okay. So what I'm now going to do is set this paper down, measure the 61, cut it, paste it. Yeah. So that's where I've got to go. So I'm going to just try and put a little bit of a tear there. And we've got to come down about 1 inch to the top. So that's what I'm going to do. Get this cut, next one. So that's the sort of length of paper I've just wasted. Ooh. Yeah, so that's what we're looking at. Now I've cut the other one, so I need to get some of this paste on. Just go out the width of the paper. And just run a bit of a brush down slightly onto the existing paper with the paste. I'm going to wipe it off anyway. Want to make sure them edges are well stuck. Although there should be plenty of paste on there now. Yeah. Right. Just remember I've pasted this wall already, let it dry, I've sized it, that's the paste on it on. Let's get it lined up where it's got to go. This is quite crucial, make sure you get that pattern lined up. Just go down the edge for a bit, make sure it's all bang on. Yeah, right, so, right, I've got that nail there, that screw, sorry. So it's there, don't try and wrench it in. Just go over there, just put a little cut. Like so. If you can. Like that. Put your blade away. Just smooth it with your hands for a minute. Make sure that pattern's bang on. Just rub it down with your finger. Slight pushing. Rub it down with your finger. So about there. So I'm just going to get some of this flat. The corking board, push that in at the top. Check it does pass the wood, it does. While I'm up here, I'm going to cut this one. Because now you should be at the stage where you're feeling a little bit more comfortable with the cutting because you've done it twice, 2 or 3 times. This is a new blade now. There you go. That's it, that's all cut. The blade away. All the way down. Check this. Make sure it's not overlapping. That looked like it was slightly overlapping there. Just push them joints together. Get that in there, push that. Do it a couple of times, make sure it's in. Check that's okay, that seemed okay. Blade out again. Cut into it. Put it off. Jobs are good then. Right, so I'm just going to wipe that down now. I might have a cup of tea. Yeah, we'll do it now. I've pasted the wall, cut the paper. So I need to match it up. To start off by getting it on the joints, like so. Push it up, butt it up I should say, they're called. Butt it up. You see, getting all these level. Like so. Yeah, just gently push it up. And there. Push that in there. Do that a couple of times, make sure it's well in there for cutting. Okay. Sharp blade. Oh, I've got paste all over that, haven't I? Butt it up. Check it's just double check, yeah, that's okay. Sink my blade into the paper. Cut that. There you go. There's a bit of a lump in that dado rail there. Didn't see that. Check there, okay. Yeah. What can throw the pattern out sometimes is if there's a bit of a bulge in the wall. A little bit dodgy on this skirting board because it's not exactly level. What I'm going to do here is just change my blade. Make sure you get that in the bin in a minute. Don't want to be standing on it at a later point. Nice sharp blade makes all the difference. There you go. Yeah, that's it. Right, so there you go. 2 full lengths up. Yeah? Looks alright, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do now is paper this section here and let you enjoy a little music. go again on the other side. So same thing applies. Same procedures apply with us doing it the opposite way. Hold on. This ready mix paste is pretty strong. Hold on. Yep, it's okay. Same again, another screw. Try and get a slit in it. Right, so there we go. Fresh blade. This is quite a strong paper. You do get what you pay for paper. Like I say, it's an 18 quid a roll, but I did choose this one because it did feel really robust. Do you know what I mean? That type of paper that's going to take a bit of a knock. I once put a paper up 20 odd years ago for a doctor. And that was 50 quid a roll. Hall stairs and landing were massive drops, you know. One drop would be one roll of paper. And yeah, 50 quid a roll. And to be honest, it wasn't that good of a paper considering how much you paid. But, you know, you've got to choose your paper and decide, you know, what's going against it. I mean, you're going to have a sofa leaning against this, isn't you? So it wants to be pretty strong stuff. There you go. Drop the golden. Got some clean water now. By this point, should have changed the water. I do feel that wiping it all over, where some guys just do the joints, wiping it all over does help for the water to soak through the paper a bit and, you know, get that extra adhesion to the paste. but just be careful how much you keep wiping it. Depending on the type of paper, some won't take too much wiping, so be a bit careful with that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Completely finished. Happy days. Beautiful. Looks beautiful. Done it, you gotta admit. So if you follow them instructions, you should be round about there. Now, what was going on about with that top section there, just there, you see, I was going on about that little gap of black just there, yeah. See how the coving actually runs up, and I've just started to pick that up just there, but unavoidable, can't do anything about it, and it's right at the top, so not too bad. But yeah, there you go. It's alright, isn't it? Quite happy with that. There you go, boys and girls, all finished. I'm sure you'll agree, looks pretty good, doesn't it? Even though the paper might not be to your taste, you know, it still looks good. So if you follow those instructions to the letter, you shouldn't go too far wrong. But before I leave you to tackle a project such as this, when you've got some paper left, just roll it up like that and save it. Your little label off the wallpaper with your batch number and everything on, make sure you keep that. Wrap it around your existing paper that's left over. Put a few lady bands around it like I've done. Wrap it up in a bag and keep it. Because if you do a wall and you chuck all your paper away, for instance, and you do something in your room and you scuff it down there and tear the paper, and you've not even got one single little bit of paper left, right, you're going to be in trouble if you haven't kept the label. Take my word for it, I've done it myself. Even if you've got no paper left and you've kept the label and wrote like lounge feature wallpaper on, you can normally go online or go to the place where you bought the paper, give them the label with the batch number and everything on, you'll be able to order a roll of paper. But if you don't do that, you could find yourself in trouble at a later date if you damage the paper. Well, that's about it. I'm not going to slobber on any more than I need to. Hope you've enjoyed the content of this video. If you have, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Until next time, from yours truly, the one, the only, Candleman. Stay safe, guys.